Okay, let's look at number 15. It says Gina spent 2 1/3 hours in the science lab on Wednesday. Okay, so that was total. She spent 3/4 hours preparing materials for the experiment. She spent 5 6 hours conducting the experiment. She spent the rest of the time cleaning her lab. Okay, so we know that um, she spent 3/4 for the experiment. The total that she spent was obviously 2 1/3. Um, Now it says based on the information, which is true. So she said the first A answer choice says Gina spent 1 8/15 hours cleaning her lab. So we know that 3/4 and 5 6. We'll have to add those together and subtract it from the total to figure out how much was left. So let's look at our common denominators here. We know that 4 multiples of 4 is 4, 8, and 12, and we know that 6 and 6 is 12. So we're going to go with 12 as our common denominator. And we are going to add. So we're looking at 12, so we're going to get ourselves to 12. What we do on the bottom, we do on the top. And then this one's 2, and this one's 2, and that's 10. We're going to add those two together, and that's 19 over 12. We know that that's an improper fraction, therefore we need to ask ourselves, 12 goes into 19 one time, and then when you subtract those, you get 7 over 12. So that's total amount that she spent for materials and for conducting the experiment. So we know that 1 7/12, if we take that away from the 2 1/3, that's going to give us the actual. So let's do that here, and then we'll erase so we can figure out this one answer choice. So we're going to do 2 1/3, and we're going to take away 7 7/12. So let's erase this so we have room. And so we're going to ask ourselves, 12 is looking at us in the face, so we are going to keep that as the denominator. 3 times 4 and 4 times 1, that will be 4 over 12. We know that that cannot be reduced, so therefore we need to borrow from the 2 and regroup. So that'll give you a 0 there. Now we have 16 minus 7, which is 9/12. And we know that we can reduce that number because both of them divide by 3. So you have a 4 and a 3. So you have 3/4. So we know that that cannot be the answer because it is not an hour and 15 minutes. She had very little time left. So let's look at B. Gina spent 2/3 of the hour preparing materials and conducting experiment. We added our 2 here, and we did come up with, you know what, we erased. Well, we came up with 1 7/12, so we know that that's incorrect as well, because when we added the 3/4 and the 5 6, we came up with 1 7/12, and that is not 2/3. Let's look at C as your answer choice. It says Gina spent the same amount of time conducting the experiment as she spent cleaning. And we know that that is not true because, well, let's look at it. Gina spent the same amount of time conducting the experiment. So conducting the experiment was 5 6, and the same amount of cleaning. The amount of time she spent cleaning, we already know, was 3/4. So that is not correct. So let's erase that. Gina spent 1/12 hour or more conducting the experiment than she spent preparing. So let's take the last thing, and what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to take the how much she spent conducting the experiment than she did preparing the materials. So she took 5 6, and you're going to subtract 3/4. Okay, the common denominator is going to be obviously 12, because we already said it many times, your multiples of 6 and your multiples of 4. To get there, you multiply by 2. That gives you 10. This one would be 3, 3. That's a 9. So now you're able to subtract with common denominators. 10 minus 9 is 1, and then your common denominator is 12. So D is actually the correct true statement, and is your answer.